not too long ago, Harvard Business Review called data scientist the sexiest job of the 21st century. But now, with generative AI exploding onto the scene, a lot of people are asking a pretty serious question. Is that sexiest job about to go extinct? Let's get into it.
So let's just cut right to the chase, right? Let's ask the question that's on everybody's mind. Can these incredibly powerful new AI models totally, completely automate the job of a data scientist? And the short answer? Yeah. Yes. But as I'm sure you can guess, it is a whole lot more complicated than that. This quote absolutely nails the situation we're in. Think about it. An AI is like a calculator on steroids. It can spit out an answer in a split second. But it takes a human who actually understands arithmetic to know that 12 times 17 is definitely not 29. It's the same thing here. It takes a data scientist who understands statistical reasoning to spot when the AI's analysis is junk. See, GAI can make us more powerful, but only if we have the power to begin with. Okay, so what parts of the job are actually getting automated? Well, it turns out that a huge chunk of the technical, day-to-day work that used to fill a data scientist's hours is now squarely in GAI's wheelhouse. I mean, think about the classic data science grind, right? Writing and debugging code in Python, fighting with messy data to get it clean, running statistical models, churning out charts and graphs, even drafting the first version of a report. All of that is now being handled by GAI. And honestly, it's happening way faster than anyone thought possible. But here's where we need to shift our thinking. To really get what's happening, you have to realize that GAI isn't just another tool you add to your collection. It's a whole new medium. It's like the invention of writing or the internet. It fundamentally changes the entire environment we work in. And this quote by John Culkin just says it all. We built these tools, and now they're changing how we think. GAI is automating the how you write the code, how you run the model. And that forces us, the humans, to level up and focus on the much harder, much more important questions, the what and the why. So if all that technical work gets automated, what's left for the data scientist to do? Well, this gets us to the absolute heart of the matter, what our source material calls the irreducible human core. And this is it. This is what's left, the stuff AI can't do. These 6 skills aren't about typing code. They're about human judgment. So problem formulation, that's just asking the right questions to begin with. Measurement and design is figuring out how to get the data you need to answer those questions. Causal identification is huge. It's about knowing what causes something, not just what's correlated with it. Then you've got statistical and computational reasoning, which is a deep understanding of why a method works. Ethics and accountability, that's making sure your work is responsible and you can stand by it. And finally, sense-making. That's the art of taking a bunch of numbers and turning them into a clear story that actually helps someone make a decision. So how does this all shake out in the real world? Well, this table gives us a super clear snapshot. Just look at that resilience to automation column on the far right. You see a really obvious pattern. The stuff that's purely mechanical, like computing with data, has low resilience. That's getting automated away. But the tasks that demand real human judgment, like data gathering and exploration up top, which is all about problem formulation, that has a high resilience. That's the human core in action. And this chart really drives the point home, doesn't it? The purely computational side of the job, that's becoming a commodity. Meanwhile, the strategic, judgment-based work of figuring out what data you need and why, that's more valuable than ever. Let's just zoom in on one of these core skills for a second, problem formulation. Honestly, this might be the most critical one of all. It's the art of taking a fuzzy, vague question from the real world and turning it into something sharp, specific, and answerable with data. For instance, a leader might walk up to you and ask, "Is our new program working?" An AI has no idea what to do with that. A human data scientist, though, has to step in and ask the critical follow-ups. Working for whom, exactly? Compared to what? What if we did nothing? Over what time frame are we measuring success? That is problem formulation. AI can't do it because it requires real-world context. So what does a data scientist's job look like now? Well, the new workflow is less about sitting alone and coding and a lot more about having a dynamic conversation, a dialogue with an AI partner. And this brings us to what is probably the single most important hands-on skill for the modern data scientist. It's called the PO-POP cycle. It's a simple idea, but it's incredibly powerful. You don't just ask the AI a question and take whatever it gives you. That's what an amateur does. A pro engages in a dialogue. You give it a prompt, you critically examine the output, and then you issue another prompt to refine, correct, or dig deeper. It's an active back-and-forth process.
Let's see how this works. Cycle 1 starts with a really straightforward prompt. An AI will nail this, and it'll spit back an answer that looks fantastic. It might show a model that seems to fit the data perfectly, with results that look super significant. A novice would be thrilled, copy it, and move on. Job done, right?
Wrong. An expert looks at that initial output and their spidey sense starts tingling. Using their statistical reasoning, they suspect a hidden problem, in this case, something called heteroscedasticity. Now, that's just a fancy term that means the model might be really good at predicting for one group, but terrible for another, making the overall results totally misleading. So in cycle 2, they issue a diagnostic prompt. They tell the AI exactly what to check for. Notice something? The AI didn't spot this problem on its own. Human judgment is driving this entire investigation. And sure enough, the diagnostic test reveals a huge problem, confirming the expert's hunch. So, in cycle 3, they issue a final corrective prompt, telling the AI to use a much more robust method to fix the issue. The final result isn't just technically better, it tells a completely different and more truthful economic story. That is the POP cycle. That's the new job. Now, as you can probably imagine, this shift has enormous consequences for how we should be training the next generation of data scientists. The entire focus of education has to evolve. We have got to move away from teaching the pure mechanics, things like memorizing Python commands or mastering one specific piece of software, because all of that stuff is becoming obsolete fast. The new focus has to be on teaching how to reason, how to critically evaluate an AI's output, how to design a sound analysis from the ground up, and how to use that human judgment at every single step of the process. So, when you step back, generative AI isn't killing data science. It's actually kind of saving it. By automating away all the tedious technical work, it's forcing the entire field to get back to what was always supposed to be the most important part anyway, the deep human work of reasoning, judgment, and making sense of the world. And that leaves us with one last really big thought. In this new world of human-AI partnership, where machines do the calculating and we do the thinking, the most important question you can ask yourself isn't, what tools can I learn? It's, what is my own irreducible human core? Because in the age of AI, that is the only skill that's truly going to matter.